Hello, welcome to Sheffield Board Gamers Podcast. My name is Rick and this is episode 62. We're recording this with Tom Cauldron. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Rick.
Hello, and we've also got Lizzie with us as well. Hello, Lizzie.
Hiya.
Hello, thank you both for joining me. It's good to talk to you both.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Nice.
We've all been to Airecon.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a chat about Airecon and our experiences there.
I think that was your first time going, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I went to Airecon Northwest, which is a smaller one in Manchester. But this is quite a bit of a different experience. First time I've been to the to the main one in Harrogate. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that and what we've been up to while we've been there. We're going to talk about some of the games that we've played while we were there. But before that, I was on Board Game Geek today, and you know how they have the top list of top 100 board games sort of sorted in order what people have ranked. I was looking down there and I was thinking, I wonder how many of those I've actually played. So I went down and counted, and I played 46 out of the 100. So almost half, not far off half. Obviously these are games that aren't necessarily played all the time. It's just what people have ranked the highest out of all the board games on Board Game Geek. So there's a particular, demographic that'll go on there and rank the games. Obviously there's probably more people play Monopoly in a day than there is people ranking games on. We realise Board Game Geek, but yeah. But it was quite interesting to go down and just figure out, in the 10ish years that I've been playing games, how many of those I've actually played so far. I think most of them that I haven't played are the bigger, longer kind of games that I kind of don't really play that much. Yeah. So like your Twilight Imperiums and your like Civilization games that take all day to play and things like that. But if I get 4 more plays in, I'll have played half. So maybe something to work towards. Maybe I'll find some of the smaller ones and see if I can play those, and then I'll have played half of them then. So
I'm having a look at the top 100 list just now, and I've played quite a few of them. I think I got into the hobby about the same time as you, and had a very varied. I don't play one game 100 at a time. I play as many games as possible. So I played quite a few as well. But some I'm not sure entirely whether to count or not. Like I played Kanban, but do I count Kanban EV, which is like a new edition of it, as having played?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to say yeah.
I've played Twilight Imperium. I don't know which one it is. Yeah, Twilight Imperium 3rd edition, but no, 4th edition is number 5 in the ranking.
Yeah, it's the 4th one, isn't it?
Do I count that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Yeah,
it's a bit tricky. I only counted the ones I've actually played, so obviously it's not the be-all and end-all of like what your favourite games are. It's just a snapshot of how people are ranking stuff. It's
just something for people to argue about, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. You can rate games however you want, and then people often complain that certain people are rating this too highly or too lowly or whatever, and it's like, who cares?
And then they start a war over it, and people start review bombing certain games to get them to go down, and it's a mess.
I mean, currently the number one game on Board Game Geek, all the games, is Brass Birmingham. I mean, it being number one kind of means something, I suppose, but
that's outrageous. I've played the original Brass, but I haven't played either Birmingham or Lancashire.
It's
there you go.
Game.
You should just boot me out of this podcast right now. I don't know what I'm talking about.
There's quite a few legacy games on there. I noticed the Ticket to Ride legacy games popped in there already.
And Pandemic Legacy is still up there.
Yeah, I think it's number 2 currently.
Yeah, which is surprising that it's still there after all this time.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Ark Nova squeaked into number 3 either. I hadn't seen that. It surprises me. I wouldn't have rated Ark Nova that high. It's fine, but I don't know if it's the number 3 game ever. But people love it.
Yeah. I think there's also a bias towards big long games, because you play a 5-minute game, and even if it's really good, it goes that was it. And you don't rate it as a great game.
The people won't play Ark Nova unless they're going to like Ark Nova. It's not something that you just pass it in a shop and go, ooh, that looks interesting, let's try that. And having never played anything before, so I think there is a lot of bias of the kind of game that if you're going to put that much time into a game, you're going to be pretty sure that you're going to like it before you even bother reading the rules. So.
Yeah.
This whole ranking system is probably the worst possible way of determining what games are good, apart from all the other systems. So yes, as I think Churchill once said. So.
Yeah. Well, we can do a whole podcast about bias one day.
Yes, let's do that.
That's a whole problem. But yeah, it's not a great way of knowing what game you might like to play. I certainly wouldn't recommend it as a metric of that.
Yes, so that's what I've been up to. Have you guys been doing anything this month apart from Airecon?
Well,
yeah.
There was Airecon in the middle of it. Yes, that was a lot of games all at once.
Oh, I did. I did play Sky Team another couple of times. We played it once, just on the basic mission, and I know Tom's spoke about it before on the podcast. But we tried some of the other missions. That were quite fun. Cooperative 2-player game where you kind of fly in the plane, but you can't talk to each other. We played some of the harder. We're moving on to some of the harder missions now, and I did actually pick up the expansion at Airecon as well. They were selling the expansion there. So even though I've only played it a few times, I got the expansion while I was there.
It's a great game.
A couple of times.
Is that even harder missions?
Yeah. Wow. I think so.
We've only got kind of halfway through the standard missions, and it's all going to get pretty tense.
Yeah.
I saw the expansion at Airecon actually. One thing that I noticed about it, I was very impressed at it. It looks like it's in a package that you just throw away, rather than it being a separate box.
Yeah. It's like in an envelope.
Does it all fit in the core box?
Yeah.
So that is great. That should be done more often.
That's a nice way of doing it.
I really hate throwing away big expansion boxes. What was the point of that? I don't mind paying a bit extra for more content if it just all goes in the box. I don't know. I haven't seen that very much. Surprisingly little.
And it was fairly cheap as well. It was only, I think, I can't remember how much it was as well, but it was quite reasonably priced.
I guess you can add quite a lot of content with just a bit more cards and some cardboard, and I don't know. There's some extra modules in there as well.
I presume so. Yeah, like I say, I haven't opened it yet, but I'm guessing there will be extra little bits you can add in. Yeah. Definitely new flight paths and stuff because it's that long kind of shape. So there's definitely new approaches and flight paths and stuff in there. But other than that, no idea what's in there. So I'll have to report back in about 5 years' time once I've played.
Yeah, once you get all the way through the core box and the expansion, let us know.
Yeah, I think it's like, there's 15 missions in the original game or something, is there? Or is there more than that? I can't remember now, but it's quite a lot in the original game. I think first I played the base game, and that was fine for our first attempt, but then we start moving on to the other ones. So
and it's not like they're not replayable as well. I mean, it's just variety rather than like a campaign or anything. It's really good.
Yes,
I could play it more.
Yeah.
I'll say that's about so many games.
The only thing I have against Sky Team is that in the module where you have an intern and you can get the intern to do stuff, you can't get them to make the coffee, which just seems it's just breaks all sort of thematic integration for me.
Should have called it something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do I have to do this?
Well, when you sat next to your pilot, you can't talk to him. That's kind of breaking the theme a little bit anyway. But I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like she's right there.
Weird play.
No, you can't hear anything. Anyway, it's a good game. But I'm looking forward to playing some more and opening an expansion at some point. So so shall we move on to Airecon then? It's the big one of the big shows in the UK, based in Harrogate at the convention centre there. A very nice venue, I thought. Very good, nice and big, plenty of room. They haven't actually released any stats yet for this year, but last year the attendance was 5,000 people.
I think it's bigger this year.
Individual people, and then the footfall was 11,000. So I'm sure it'll be bigger this year. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be more.
It is sort of officially the second biggest in this country, apart from after Expo. I think.
I was going to say it must be.
Right?
I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would assume so. But then again, I haven't been to Tabletop Scotland. I don't know how big that is. It's got a lot bigger over the years.
It was in several large halls, and these halls are massive, aren't they? And there are quite a few of them. But they're all kind of close together. They're all sort of next to each other, kind of thing. So it's not as like you have to walk miles to get to another hall. It's just next to where they are.
Unless you want food.
Yeah, Oh, we'll come to that.
Let's not talk about that right now. That was a whole thing.
Getting there was all right. Because of personal reasons, I couldn't stop over, unfortunately. So I had to I got the train there the first day, and then I drove Saturday and Sunday, so I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think you were there for 4 days, is that right, Lizzie and Tom?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, the Thursday as well. So what's the Thursday like?
So on the Thursday they don't have any stalls or events. Right. They just open it up at 4:00 or so for people to just come in, get their tickets, and then there's just gaming space. And I've got the library, the games library open as well.
The library does open, and you can drop stuff off for the bring and buy.
Right.
Yes.
That's fine. You can do that on Thursday, so you don't need to do it on Friday.
Yeah.
They have giant stacks of games that the sure gets wheeled into the bring and buy. So that's a recent thing. That they didn't used to do that. I think the first time I went to Airecon, they didn't even do Friday. It was just Saturday, Sunday. But then a couple of years ago, it kept getting extended, and now they have this system on Thursday. It's really good that the library is open. I think it's really helpful.
Yeah.
It's a well-stocked library as well.
Yes, it is.
Good selections of games.
Yeah, really new games as well. That they'll often have a lot of games from the last year or so that for people to play, which is really useful. Yeah, it's way better than the UK Games Expo library, and there are 10 copies of Agricola for some reason.
I know one of the main organisers is also the owner of Travelling Man. Which
is that the connection? Right.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
They're a big games shop in Leeds and York, I think of this. Anyway, they've got obviously a lot of games that they got access to, so I think that's how they get all the good games in the library.
Yeah, we used it a couple of times in the library. It was really easy to use. You register on the app, and then they scan the barcode that you want to play, the game that you want to play, you take it out, and then they scan it when you go back in. It's really easy.
Yeah, the queues weren't even that bad this year. It seemed fine. I don't know why that seemed better than usual, but I barely queued at all, really, to swap games around. Maybe it was just because it was more efficient. But yeah, you didn't even need to leave a deposit this time. You just give them a phone number. And I didn't even need to do that. Presumably they remembered me from the year before. But I just logged into the system, and gave them the barcode. And
you were there.
Yeah, that was that. And they just printed it out again. So that was really easy.
It must be a nightmare having all these people playing all these games, because no doubt things get lost or things get damaged, and if people don't tell you, what do you do afterwards? Do you go through every individual game and count all the components, or do you wait until somebody tells you? Or it must be a headache. I can't imagine managing it all. It must be a big job for somebody.
There must be a lot of missing pieces.
Yeah.
Though I read somewhere that there's some people were saying that that they'd fixed some games for the library, that some people had found that there was missing a component, so they went to these stores and bought a bit that they could use to replace it and sort the game out, so it was at least playable. I've certainly punched out a few games from the library when they were brand new. You pick them up and then it's okay, right, it really is new. And punch it all out and find some baggies to bag everything up.
So we I called in at the bring and buy a couple of times. That was good. Again, nicely well laid out. Wasn't too much queuing. There was a little bit of a queue on the Saturday, but it wasn't too bad. It was only a few minutes wait. But I was there Friday, and that was fine. Sunday, that was fine. Again, everything worked smoothly. It was cash only, so you had to make sure you had the money available to pay for whatever games you wanted, I think. But actually, purchasing them was easy. They all got stickers on with barcodes on. Luckily, the stickers peel off quite easily as well. They use these special stickers so they don't, ruin the games or anything. But you find a game that you want, took it to the front, paid for it, dead easy. And I think Samuel dropped off a couple as well. He was selling some, and I think you sold some as well, is he?
Yeah, I sold a couple of games this time.
How did you find that? Was that all right? Selling them?
Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think I sold everything but 2.
This is another place where they had a really good app integration, because you could not only browse everything that was available on the app without having to go in there, but you could also, if you were selling anything, you could see exactly what was sold. See, there's 3 other things of the same game, but they're charging more, so I'll go and change my price. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's easy to change your prices as well. That's the thing that you can do. If you find, I sometimes do that on Sunday morning. If a few things haven't sold, I'll go in and put the price down.
Yeah, you just do that through the app.
More games. Yeah, and then you have to go in and find it, and put a new barcode on it. But yeah, that's fine. That's easy to do.
Yeah, it did all seem smooth and all worked well. One strange thing that happened to me was I bought a copy of Lord of the Rings, the cooperative game, the Cosmos one, and the sticker was actually in German. the name of the game was in German. I didn't realise until I took it to the front, and he said, "Oh, you do realise this game's in German, don't you?" And I thought, well, I had a look at the back, and it was all in English. So we opened up the box and had a look at the instructions and everything, and it was all in English. For some reason, I think it's the way that it's registered on the app. Maybe because it was a German or somebody who spoke German that registered it. But
when you type it in, it links to Board Game Geek, and you select which game it is. So. Yeah, I don't know how that would happen.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Yeah, but
it's a bit weird.
What wasn't an issue. We just had a look inside it, and all the cards are in English. Checked the instructions; they were in English. So yeah, it's fine, no problem. So I'll still buy it. It's a bit of an odd thing. Yeah. But yeah, it looked. It was a really good selection of games in there. There were the big sort of campaign games that people have obviously played through or got bored of or haven't got time to play or whatever. Lots of small games as well. Everything in between, basically. So. Yeah, really good selection. So I picked up a couple of games from there. There were a lot of sellers at the front when you first go into the sort of the main hall. There were a lot of people selling board games, like new ones. There were a lot of content creators. There were a lot of people, with Kickstarters and things like that, demoing games. Did you go to any of those?
Walked through the sales hall. Did a few demos on some of the stands, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shout out to Matt, who had his stand for War of the Worlds One More Day, which is going to be launching on Kickstarter soon. One of the casual playtesters. But anyway, he's got a lovely. It's a War of the Worlds themed game, so he's got a stand set up to look like a sort of Victorian parlour, and he's there with his waistcoat and a pipe and things. So that was nice. But yeah, there's a few places that do fancy dice or accessories and things.
Yeah, there were plenty of like dice trays and custom dice and dice towers and things like that, weren't there? That looked really cool.
Somehow we ended up buying more dice. I'm sure we've got enough now.
You can never have enough dice.
No. There was like a little painting station there as well, where people were doing like painting lessons, and you could paint a little figure and have a bit of practice and things like that. Get some tips. Don't know if you saw that, but that looked quite interesting.
Yeah, that was cool. I think that was new for them. I don't remember them doing much in sort of miniatures wise, really. That's not really their thing. So yeah, that was good. See them branch out a little bit. I played an enormous copy of Harmonies. That was fun.
Oh, they had the giant games, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, giant Harmonies, giant pieces.
What's the penguin one? I saw that one. Fish.
Hey,
that's my fish.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I saw that one played a few times. But you played Harmonies, did you?
Yeah. That was really fun. Gary had actually never played Harmonies, which is ridiculous since he loves Cascadia. And I've been saying to him for ages, you're going to have to play Harmonies. It's really good. So yeah, we enjoyed that, having a game of that. It's always fun playing with giant pieces. I don't know why it makes it better. It just does.
Yeah.
And we had a quick go at Dropolter as well. Have you played that one? The Oink game?
Yeah. Yes, that's
where
ridiculous.
You have to have a load of a bunch of stuff in your hands. Yeah. It was great for that kind of sort of con. You just walk past them and like, what is that? What are these bits? And then say it's like 10 minutes to play. So we had a quick game of that.
Was that a giant one, or was that just a regular?
No, that would be much harder.
Giant Dropolter, that would be a game to play, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be.
A suitcase, carry all the stuff. Yeah, so the events. Did you go to any of the events? There were sort of quiz shows and talks and things like that. Unfortunately, like I said, because of I was only there for sort of the afternoon and early evening, I couldn't attend any of those. But I would have loved to go to some of those.
I did. I went to a couple of talks last year. I think I mentioned I went to the history of card games. This year, same guy, Tim Clare, was doing the history of dice. Mm-hmm. This is all spun off from his research for his the Game Changers book. That was fun as ever. I went to another one about how to design escape rooms. Some academic who I didn't know you could get a job being an academic at doing escape rooms, but apparently you can.
Right.
But yeah, he's led us through a few exercises, and that was fun. And then a couple of other events. So was Jolly Boat, who did the same show as they always do, which was exactly what their fans expect. So that's comedy songs.
We went to Jolly Boat for the first time.
Yeah,
first Jolly Boat
well,
experience.
if you go again, you know all the words. So
right, okay.
don't expect new songs. They haven't done new songs in 8 years.
I guess it would make the Park Life one easier.
It would. Yeah, they were fun. I went to a couple of... I went to the board game quiz. Didn't win again. They had... as a special thing for their 10th anniversary of Airecon, they had a big box of celebrations instead of just one packet for the winner. And there were various other panel shows, RPGs, comedy podcast things going on, which we sort of walked past and saw some people sort of finishing off a bit of comedy RPG session. So, and it all looked fun. And I should mention that most of the event was in the Harrogate Convention Centre, sort of what you'd expect, big sort of soulless halls. But the convention centre is tacked on to this magnificent old theatre, which is where they had all the events. So you'd go from a hall with loads of tables and chairs into this gilded Victorian palace.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was part of the centre.
It's worth just going in there just to have a look. Yeah. It's really nice.
Yeah. I wondered what that was. Yeah. Why it was so different to the rest
it's
of it.
Great that they can use that space for that.
That's just been this year and last year.
Very cool. So. Yeah, that's very recent. Yeah. So the convention didn't used to be in that part of the that part of it at all. It used to be on the other side of the convention centre. So it all changed. Like 3 years ago, something.
Well,
like that,
it grows every year, so they keep on changing what halls it needs.
I'm hoping eventually it will take the entire thing and we'll go back to the area that it used to be in. There's that really nice conservatory bit that we used to sit in. I liked it there. You get some light, actual sunlight. Imagine. So I missed that part of the convention hall really, but it is a lot bigger now, so it makes sense. So that's what they've done. But the rest of it is quite. Some of the halls are just big metal boxes. But still, it doesn't matter where you play games, does it?
Absolutely,
it's fine.
No, they had a quite good layout with the tables though. They had I think they had tablecloths or some kind of covering on all the tables, and there were plenty of chairs and plenty of space and things like that. So
I know there was plenty of room. That's true. Which at the UK Games Expo, that is not the case. We often in the morning have to go and find a table, and then somebody has to sit there all day.
Claim it.
Or you're just wandering around. But at Airecon, we never had that trouble. There was always space to sit down and play something. They do a really good job of making sure that there's enough room. It's important to them that people can play as much as possible.
It's a convention for playing rather than shopping.
Yes.
They make sure that there's enough seats that if everybody attending the convention wanted to sit down at once, they could.
Food? You mentioned this earlier.
There was food.
Oh dear. Yes. that is accurate. Yeah, there was food. It was a possibility.
Well, there was a little bit of influence from the centre, who have their own caterers, and they sort of crack down a little bit on the food. So not so many of the trucks providing different cuisines. You still had a few of those, but they weren't allowed to be in the outside space and weren't allowed to have any gas-powered stoves or anything. So that any of them that were there just had to be in the hall with electric plates. And meanwhile, on the other side, there was all the centre's own caterers doing pizzas and pies and things. So it was a bit less of a food offer than there had been previously.
Right.
But still good things. I mean, it was like I had a few things from Madame Crepe and the poutine, which is very nice.
Yeah.
But
there was still good food to have. And to be honest, I didn't queue as much as I used to.
No. I mean, they basically had one hall set aside, quite a way aside, but that was the food hall. So people left their games, went over there and ate, and then came back. So it wasn't really mixed that much. Although apparently you could get delivery service from the centre's caterers.
Yeah, there was a QR code that you could use to get stuff. I think that was only the Matcham and convention centre people, there wasn't it? Not the other stalls. So
no.
You had to have whatever they were offering, but you could get food delivered to your table.
And the food hall is just out of a door and up a little walk to the thing. Except that door wasn't available. So instead of going out that door and just 30 seconds up the road, you had to go up an escalator, down an escalator, round a corner, through another hall, down a corridor, past the toilets, across the road, and then into the other hall.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a trek.
And then do all of that on the way back, holding hot food.
Yeah. Meanwhile, and when you got to the other hall, you just look to your side, and there's the door into the hall. Why haven't we...
Yeah, it's right there.
It's right there. Just open that.
Yeah, it was a little bit strange. I was speaking to...
It was frustrating.
Yeah, I sat down for something to eat, and there were a few other people there, and we got chatting to them, and they were saying that they'd been before, and they were explaining the food situation and where the doors go and things like that. But that it was. I think everybody there was really friendly. Obviously, we've all got something in common, so you could stop and chat to somebody and talk to somebody about anything you wanted, and everybody was really, really friendly and happy, and seemed really great to be there. So that side of it was really good. Unfortunately, I wish I had more time to play more games with more different people, but like I said, personal circumstances. We've got. Tracy was working and we've got a puppy, so I couldn't leave him on his own all day, unfortunately, so I had to go back and see to him. But
puppy come first, that's fine. You got your priorities right there.
Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah. So should we talk about some of the games that we played then while we were there? We played lots of games.
One or two, yes.
Yes. I'll go first because I don't want to take up too much of your time because I'm quite interested to hear what you guys have been playing. But I played a game called Furnace, and we played with the expansion, which is Interbellum. So
I played Furnace, but I don't know anything about the expansion.
Right, okay. So Furnace is kind of a bidding game where you're bidding with tokens and you're collecting cards that kind of build up an engine. So you're converting resources into different resources, and there's those resources into coins, which are your points, basically. So you're kind of building up an engine round by bidding on these cards. It's got a really interesting bidding mechanism where you've got these tokens where you can't have the same colour or the same number on one card, and that kind of avoids people being tied at any point. So the Interbellum is basically the expansion to that. So I don't really get to play expansions all that much, even though I've got quite a few that usually when I play at the club it's with people who haven't played the game before, so it's usually without the expansion, so it's not very often we'll play with this kind of stuff. But it basically adds more modules to it, so there's optional modules that you can throw in, you can play with or without. So you can just throw everything in and play with everything, or you can pick and choose which bits you want. So there are new company and capitalist cards. So the starting cards that you get with your factory on and your special ability from your player. There are new ones of those. One of the things that was quite interesting is usually you have tokens from 1 to 4. Now you're bidding tokens. Now with the new one, there's a variable one that's got like a dial on it, so you can dial in how much you want to bid. So if you want to bid 5, you can do, but you have to pay coal for each one. So if you bid 5, then you have to pay 5 coal. But it makes it so that before, usually if somebody put their number 4 token on a particular card, they were getting that regardless of, nobody could stop them because there was nothing higher than that. Now there's a potential for that people can outbid them and sneak that from under them, even though they were expecting to win it, so that was quite cool. It adds a 5th player, so if you want to play up to 5, I think the base game plays up to 4, you can do that now. And then there are also these manager tokens and business schools, so the row of cards that you get to bid on in the middle, which are your kind of resource generating cards, there's also a couple of extra ones at the end that hold these special rule breaking tokens, so you can bid on those, and even though you don't get a resource or a card to go with it, you get like a special token that lets you break the rules in some kind of way. Like you can use a factory twice, or you can you get double the resources when you produce a certain thing and things like that. There's all sorts of different ones in there, and they get refreshed each time the row gets refreshed, so that gives you more options for building up your engine. So it's not something probably I'd throw in if you're playing it with first time players. I'd probably just stick to the base game, but it just adds more and more stuff that if you've played Furnace a few times, then it's not too difficult to get your head around the extra stuff that's in there. It slots in quite easily and quite nicely. Oh, there's extra solo player stuff as well, but obviously we didn't play with that. We played a 4-player game, I think. Yeah, we played a 4-player game. So there's some new solo stuff and some new bits and bobs for that in there, and for the two-player variant as well, because it's usually a 3-player game. There's a 2-player variant in the box. So yeah,
I like Furnace. I played it once or twice.
Yeah, it's a good game. Yeah, I quite like it. Yeah, I quite like the
thing I like about it is the auction isn't just, oh, shall I win it? I didn't win it. Oh well. It's both. Both ways are good. Winning it means you get something, and losing it means you get something different. So it's And maybe you don't want to. You putting a bid on hoping not to win it sometimes.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah, it just means everything is interesting in some way.
Yeah, and now with the variable bidding tokens, you could put a 5 on something, and then somebody else could spend a whole load of gold to put 6 on it, and suddenly you're getting 5 times the resource that you didn't really want, or you thought you were going to win. So that mixes it up a little bit. So, but yeah, the bidding mechanism works really well, and it's quite an interesting way of doing it. Not something I've seen before. But I do quite like the engine building sort of part of it as well, putting your cards next to each other and then you run your engine and it produces loads of stuff, and then I've got 10 coins this turn, and next time you've got 25, and then next time you've got 50. So it kind of ramps up and gets more stuff. So yeah, Furnace, Interbellum, that's one of the games that I played.
Very good.
Tom, do you want to go next and tell us what you've been playing?
Well, I guess the library games, we sometimes have a look at what we want to get out, the games we haven't tried or want to try. But this time I only had one on the list. Yeah. I mean, last year Paula had never played Scythe, so we were trying to get Scythe the whole weekend and managed it eventually. But this year, the only thing I had on my list was I wanted to try out Terra Nova. Now, have you played Terra Mystica, either of you?
I played it last week.
A long time ago.
Yeah, yes, of course, I remember you playing it, yes.
Yeah.
So, Terra Nova is, you take Terra Mystica, and then you take half the game out. So it is literally a simpler and quicker version of Terra Mystica. So you've still got the magic bowls, you've still got the map where you're trying to place your buildings, and you can upgrade your houses to trading posts to palaces or whatever they're called. It takes out a lot of the complication because you've only got the resource of money, not workers and money. You don't have the cult tracks anymore, which was a big part of the previous game. Mm-hmm. And it's simplified some other things, like if you gain power from somebody building a building next to you or upgrading a building next to you, then it's not a toss-up of I take this much power but I have to lose that many points. It's just you get that much power. It is a lot quicker and a lot easier to understand, and it's still a good game. I mean, I played it one other person who has never played Terra Mystica, and he wanted to try this. I think he could now go on and play Terra Mystica and know some of the concepts and some of the rules, and just be halfway there towards playing Terra Mystica now. I think if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose Terra Mystica because there's just crunchier and more going on generally. But Terra Nova is still a very fun game on its own terms. It's not quite the same experience as Terra Mystica, but it's still a very good Euro game.
I guess is it a good introductory Euro game then into sort of other kind of a gateway Euro game?
Yeah, I mean there's still a fair amount going on, so it's a bit more introductory than Terra Mystica. You wouldn't throw that at a newbie, but you could throw this at an interested new player. Yeah, it's still got crunchy decisions and there's a lot of space for good play, and you can feel clever for doing things. The individual powers are still there, not quite as dramatic as in Terra Mystica, I don't think, but they've only got 5 types of terrain instead of 6, I think. So it's another.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's simplified as well. Yeah, it's a good introductory version of Terra Mystica, which is exactly what I expected. I'm glad I tried it. I know Terra Mystica's kind of branched out into sort of lots of different things now. It's like 4 different versions of it and various different things. Gaia Project and
there's a space one and
yeah. There was another new one, Age of Innovation. Is that Terra Mystica version as well?
Is that the same? Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. Anyway, so it seems to be a whole family of games now, but this is the introductory one. If anyone is scared about Terra Mystica, try this first.
So I think one of the first games that we got out of the library was Phantom Ink. Did you get it, Tom?
I did. Actually, yeah.
It was on the table when I came back and people were about to play. Like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. I want to play it. It was on Kickstarter a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, something like that. And I've heard some good things about it. So it was nice to give it a go. But yeah, it's a party game, kind of like Codenames or
a bit like Decrypto.
So Clover and Mysterium.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like Decrypto, because you've got two teams.
Yeah. It's a bit like that. So that kind of sort of easy to teach party game. Where you've got, one person on each team is playing the ghost, so they call it a ghost, and everybody else is mediums who are trying to understand what the ghost is saying. So both the ghosts choose between themselves which item they want to choose off a card. It might be, a corkscrew, or a mermaid, or an orange, or it could be anything, just anything.
I think we had a violin at one point. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, yeah. And then the two ghosts are trying to basically give that information to the mediums on their team, and the first team to correctly guess the item will win the game. So to do that, they need to get information about the items. So the group of mediums have a set of cards which they get dealt, which have questions on them, which they can then choose to ask the ghost. So they choose two of those cards and give them both to the ghost, and the ghost chooses one of them to answer. So they might be things like, how big is it, or what would it cost the same as to buy, or how would you feel about using it, or how would you use this as a weapon? Which, depending on the thing which you're talking about, might make sense, or it might just be absolutely absurd. And sometimes you're given two questions like, I don't know how to answer either of those things. It just doesn't make any sense. But you have to choose one of them as the ghost, so whichever question you think is more useful, you give them back the one that you're not answering, and then you answer the question by writing very slowly on a piece of paper, optionally in wiggly spirit handwriting.
No, I've just got bad handwriting.
Yeah, it might just happen anyway. I've had people just write backwards. So, did you do that on purpose, or you're just trying to be ghosty? So they'll write the word slowly, and when the mediums think that they know what the word is, they have to shout out silencio so that they stop writing. So obviously, if they keep writing the whole word, and the other team has exactly the same information, that you want to know what the word is without the other team knowing what the word is. And obviously they don't know what the question was. So if you figured out what you think it might be, so the first one was corkscrew, I think, and the first question was, what is it made of? So the first two letters were STs. Maybe that's steel. It could have been stone, depending on what the thing was. And obviously, if you don't know the question, it could be absolutely anything. And then it goes back into the two different teams ask questions to their ghosts. So you slowly get a picture of what words might be out there. And you can tell a surprising amount from the other teams, which surprised me really. Once you sort of have an idea of what the thing might be, you start thinking, well, that could be that word, and that would make sense. And once you think you know what it is, then you can write it down slowly what you think the answer is, and the ghost has to knock if you're right, or tell you to if you're wrong, and if you're right, then you win. But it was just really fun. I was really surprised how fun it was. We had a great time with it.
It sounds like a silly party game, but it actually works really well.
Yeah, and it's surprising how much sort of thinking there is into it. So what question do you ask in the first place? You think, this would give us some information. Or if you think, maybe it's this thing. And then if it is, then their answer to this question would obviously be this. And then if they don't write that, then, okay, we're wrong. It was something else. There was a violin, wasn't it? You were doing that one. And we asked you... I can't remember. But we were convinced it was a rat.
Yes,
we asked you what sound it made,
and I wrote E and then E.
Yeah.
And my next letter was going to be E again. Because it makes E. But you thought I was writing eek.
Yeah, because the first question that we'd ask is what colour is it, and you'd written BR. Yeah. Obviously, that's brown. And then he said it made the sound E. Like, right, well, cool. It's either a rat or a mouse. Obviously. But no, we were very wrong. It was a violin.
I quite like the fact that both ghosts are sitting there and they've got the same word, and one of them, while one of them's struggling to think how to answer a question, the other one can look over and go, "Oh God, I don't know how you're going to do that." And you can sort of commiserate with each other while you're.
You get this weird sort of conspirational sort of team, like of the two ghosts. Yeah. Like, oh, what? Oh dear! Oh no! What are you going to do there? Oh, I guess you could do that, or sometimes you end up asking a question of the ghost that they'd never thought about before. I picked this up basically as soon as I got home. I ordered it because I knew that my colleagues at work would they really like this sort of game, that they love So Clover, and they love Mysterium as well, with the whole sort of ghost thing. Oh, this will work really well, and they loved it. One which was a seahorse, and the first question we asked was, "What is it made of?" And the ghost was like, "I'm going to have to Google this." Right, okay. Just I couldn't tell you. I don't know. What is that? But yeah, I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a party game for sort of word people. It plays 4 to 8, so quite large groups, and they don't have to be even numbers. It would be fine with an odd number of people on one team. I don't think it would really matter. You're basically just sort of discussing what to ask and what you think words might mean.
I think this would go down well with most groups as well. I mean, it's like sort of the same sort of thing as Just One, as in it's everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, I think my family would enjoy it as well.
Yeah,
there's not much pressure as there are in some games like this. Sometimes, if you're like the one, you can feel under quite a lot of pressure to do something right. But here it's, I don't know, they asked the question. It's their fault if they asked a stupid question. All you can do is answer
jump to the wrong conclusions or whatever.
Yeah. So it doesn't feel like as bad if you get in an awkward situation. It's just funny. It's not really. It doesn't feel kind of difficult. So yeah, that was our.
So my next game is a game called Castle Combo. So this is a little card game, drafting and then building up your castle with as many scoring combinations as you can to try and win points. So this is a quick half-hour game, so it's not quite a filler, a little bit longer than that, but it's fairly quick. And you're drafting from 2 decks of cards. I think they call it an upper row and a lower upper city and a lower city or something like that. So there's 2 decks of cards and 2 rows of available cards, and then you're drafting from one of those and then putting it into your castle, which is essentially a 3x3 grid, so 9 cards in total you're going to take throughout the game. And these cards that you're drafting basically have combinations on them, so they'll score in certain ways. So they want to be next to other cards of a particular type, or they want to be in a certain position, either a row or a column or a corner or something like that. Or they might score in combination with the colour of cards. They've got like a colour and a type down the side with some like little icons on, so it depends on what they are. There's a little bit of a money element, so you've got a bit of coin and a bit of you have to pay for the cards that you're buying, so some of the cards will generate you a bit of money as well, so you have to make sure you have enough money to pick the cards that you want. So yeah, this it's like a little card game that comes in a little box, but there's a lot of game here and a lot of different variations. I think when we played it, we played a 3-player game, I think it was, and we all went down a different route of a different strategy of trying to get as many points as we could. So I was going for like green and yellow cards, and then Lizzy was going for something else, and Samuel was going for a different set of cards. There's a little bit of taking other people's cards that they want. So if you can see a card that a little bit of hate drafting in there, so you can see what they're after and what's going to score them a lot of points, you might take it away even though you don't really want it, just to stop other people from taking it, because it'll give them a whole bunch of points. So there is a little bit of that as well. So, but obviously once you've built up your city, there isn't a way that people can attack you or destroy your cards or anything like that. Once it's sort of set in place, then that's it. That's where you're going to be for the rest of the game. So yeah, so you go down this list, add up all your points at the end, and then see who has the most points is a winner. So yeah, a really quick and easy, nice, quick little game that I really enjoyed. Want to play it again so I can try some of the other strategies and see what other cards are in those decks. I can imagine there'll be plenty of expansions going out for this as well. It seems like it's quite easy to add.
Yeah, it would be easy to add.
Yeah, so no doubt there'll be stuff coming in the future. But the base game itself, we only played it once, but it was good fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like this one. I think I played it twice I think it was the only game that I played twice because we were demoed it by Hachette as well in the in the trade hall the day before, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. So did Gary. It was a nice sort of very simple to learn kind of game, but with quite a lot going on.
Yeah, you have to kind of work out what's going to give you most points, don't you? You kind of min-max in.
Yeah, depending on what cards come out early, it kind of sets kind of what you'll be looking for the rest of the game. And say, this game is good. This card is good with like greens and yellows or something. So you have to try and get those.
Yeah,
it was quite interesting, the mechanic of having the two different rows and having to spend keys to move between them. It added an extra bit of, should I buy one of these? This card would be okay, but if I spent a key and went to the top row, that card would be a lot better. Like, is that better?
Yeah.
And you have to think, but then it puts it up there, and you really want the card that's up there, so then you don't have to spend a key to go and get the card that you obviously want. So maybe it's better that I just stick with the card that's still decent.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get the card up there without having to spend a key. So it gives it an extra little layer of something to think about.
Yeah. So that's Castle Combo. Tom, what's your next one?
Well, another game that this is one I've seen around a bit, but I haven't got a chance to play it until I went to Airecon. It's Forest Shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
This is designed by someone with a weird name of Koch. Just one name. Well, it's one name, so like Madonna. But anyway, yes, I know. It's a card game based around woodland ecosystems. So you sort of you can play cards. If you play a tree, then you can play things to it, animals or plants attached to the tree, to the left, to the right, below it or above it. And then you can play more trees and have more things next to them. And it's one of these games where there's points everywhere. This gives you points in some way. There's other thing which gives you straight points. This gives you points depending on how many of them you've got. This thing gives you points depending on how many of something else you've got. You play this, and that means you can play something else. So it seems like it's going to be overwhelming. And the card, you look at this hand of cards, and then you look at all the other cards available in the on the board in the marketplace. Whenever people discard cards, they discard to the middle, so you end up with a load to choose from. And you look at all these options, and it seems like it could be overwhelming, but somehow you always seem to have a few different options you can go for, but not too bad. I've played with a couple of people, some of whom, including me, can sometimes get a little bit AP, but didn't have a problem with it in this game for some reason. There was just, I'll do this, and this will get me some points. I'll try and go heavy into the European Hares strategy, because you can play as many European Hares as you like, and then some other cards give you sort of, this is worth points depending on how many European Hares you get. But then if someone else is stealing those, then you'll have to just do something different. Or early on, I got a card that says if you played all different types of tree, then you get a load of points. So I thought, okay, I'll try and do that. So there's a lot of things that you can sort of play, which will sort of point you in the direction of trying to do something, and then you can try and do that until it works out that you can't do that, and then you'll just try and do something different. But it's I found this really one of the games that I found really fun, because it's just swimming in this ocean of possibilities. If you see what I mean. I think you played this as well, didn't you, Lizzy? Had you played it before, or was this your first?
No, that was my first game.
What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
you're right. There were a lot of possibilities, and it's true that it wasn't particularly slow. And there were a lot of things to kind of think about.
Yeah,
but yeah, you'd often be on a particular quest. Like you said, I think I had the quest of get all of the trees. So I'm like, right, well that's the thing.
Yeah, it gives you things that you can latch on to.
Things to do. Yeah, they're to aim for, but. Yeah, the other thing is that you have to pay for cards with other cards. So you end up going, "Ooh, am I actually going to do this, or shall I just bin this off to pay for this tree?"
Yeah, I really want
to
get
That's always painful, isn't it?
Yeah. So I have to give up on this dream to carry on with this one. But Yeah, a lot. It did feel like a lot of the time we knew what we were going to do. It was like, well, I'm going to take that tree because I need that. Or I'm collecting hairs, and there's a hair, so I'll grab that. Yeah. And then I need to wait to pay for it, so I'll have to collect some cards. Sometimes what you do is just pick up cards in order to throw them away so that you can pay for something.
And sometimes you can see what other people are going for as well. Like, oh God, you don't want to give them warm butterflies.
Yeah.
You know?
I was doing that at some point. I just had a load of butterflies sat in my hand that I didn't need, but then when I could get them into the bin, I was like, I can finally throw away all these butterflies I don't want. But yeah, there were a few things that were a bit odd about it, which I guess if you'd played it a lot, you would know much better which strategies were good and how likely they were to happen. Because some things it wasn't obvious. Or if you pick up a card and it says, "Oh, this is worth points if you have this other card," but am I going to see that other card? How likely is that to come? Especially as we were playing with a lot of the expansion stuff as well, weren't we? Which changed all of the odds of.
Oh, were we? I didn't even realise that.
Right. Yeah. All the butterflies, I think, and stuff. The Alpine, that was definitely one of the expansions. I think there was another one as well. So I can't remember if the cards said on them how many there were, but it's a giant stack of cards. So. You might just, and you won't see them all, will you? Because the end game, the winter is coming thing, was shuffled into the bottom. So maybe the card that you're looking for. It doesn't have a picture of Sean on it, unfortunately. No, it's a missed opportunity. They might be shuffled on the bottom, so you never know. That might just never happen. So things like that were a bit awkward. But I think if you knew the game really well, then you'd have a better idea of which strategies were good. But I guess it's mostly sort of what you get early on, like. And then choosing what your strategy to do is.
Yeah, I can see that getting good at this game would consist of getting to know the deck and what's in there and things.
Yeah, I think that would make a big difference. I think if a bunch of new people were playing against somebody who's played it before, the person who's played it before would probably win.
Probably, yeah.
So that would be a slight issue. But obviously it was fine for us. None of us had really played it very much.
I played it sort of last thing as they were people were kept on walking past and saying, "You got another 10 minutes. You got another 5 minutes. Okay, you got to move now. Okay, we're scoring up now."
Smash this out.
So it was all a bit rushed at the end. So I don't even remember.
Yeah, and the scoring was a bit of a pain, wasn't it? There's a lot to add up. Like, oh, this is these points for that, and I was
yes,
there's quite a lot. Mm-hmm. There's a lot, yeah. But no, it was really fun. I certainly enjoyed it.
I played this a couple of times at a club. Did you find that it spreads out quite a lot? I think we played it 4 or 5 player. And you need quite a big table to.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of trees. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that I was going to say. That I was a bit disappointed that it didn't really matter a lot of the time where you put stuff. Like, oh, I've got a deer. Where am I going to put it? And I was bung out on that tree. It doesn't really make a lot of difference. There were only a few trees which kind of gave you things that you should put on them specifically. I think Squibbles wanted to be on oak trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that.
There was another tree that you could have as much as you wanted of stuff on it or something. So obviously you bung all your hairs on that. But there wasn't very much of that. Not as much as in Meadow. Have you played Meadow? Where you you build out a particular thing. You start from the ground and then you have a house and then you put things in the house. It feels more like you're building a specific thing. Whereas this kind of felt like a tableau, and you're just bunging stuff on willy-nilly. There's a deer over there, and I've got a fox. Oh, where's that? I don't know, over there. This bird can go on that tree. There's nothing sitting up there, which I felt was a bit odd. I guess there'll probably be another expansion which gives it a bit more of that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I think everyone ended up with like 5 or 6 trees at least, didn't they? And with stuff sort of coming off them. In every direction, so yeah, it does end up taking.
It definitely takes up a lot of room. That is true. Yeah, it's not a travel game.
No, you can play this on the train.
No.
Lizzie, what's your last one?
Right. So I was just going to talk a little bit about Ironwood, which I think Shut 'em Sit Down just did a review of.
Quite interesting in this one. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. It was one that I was intrigued to play. Yeah, I got this out of the library. For me and Gary to play, and I was looking for it everywhere and I couldn't find it, and then these 3 guys next to me picked it up and were like, "Oh, we could play Ironwood." I was like, "Oh, you found Ironwood? Oh no!" I was looking everywhere for that. It turns out it's not written on the side of the box, so I couldn't see it. And I was like, "Oh, that's sad. That's a shame." Like, oh, but there are 3 of you. It's a 2-player game. I'm like, oh, is it? So I ended up getting the game anyway.
You don't want that, but yes. That's rubbish.
You don't want to play that. You play something. There's plenty of games there that you'd want to play. Yeah, play Root. Because Ironwood is a specifically 2-player, basically Root-like game. So it's an asymmetrical area control game. You can play it solo. So there are two asymmetric sides, what they call the Ironclad and the Woodwalkers, which you can play as, which have different goals that they're trying to do to win the game. So you can play it solo by playing it against one of the sides with an AI bot. But we were playing it 2-player. So one of the sides, the Ironclad, are trying to build some mines, essentially, in the mountains. They're trying to build some foundries, that's the word for them. So they're this kind of industrial, kind of like the cats, I guess, in Root. And they're represented by these big chunky metal pieces. They're moving around the board with their armies, and they have a drill which they can move around the mountains to drill these crystals, which is how you pay for stuff. And then essentially the mountains are kind of like, they look like roads on the boards. And then in between the roads, there are big patches of forest, which is where the Woodwalkers can move around between. So the two factions can't be in the same places. They're just each moving around the board on their particular spaces. And when they're adjacent, so when the woods next to a mountain can attack the Ironclad and vice versa. So you can attack into areas of the board that you're adjacent to. So what the Woodwalker's trying to do is to summon a totem, I believe, 3 times. They have a special deck of different places on the map where they can summon this thing to appear, and then they have to walk off the map with it, obviously before the other team manages to stop them. So to do that, you've each got a deck of cards which is specific to your faction, with the abilities that you can do. So you're drawing from that deck to add to 3 basic cards, which you always have. There's always a move card and a fight card, and then another one which is specific to your faction. So the card which lets the Ironclad build the foundries, for instance, they've always got in hand, and the Woodwalkers always have one which lets them summon. So you've always got those 3 cards which you can play, and then you draw some other cards from the deck as well to give you extra options of different things that you can do. And then, but those special ones, which are generally better, but you only get to use them once, they go into a discard pile. You never get that back. That's gone. Whereas your basic ones, you'll always have that option in hand. So you can always do the basic things if you need to, but ideally you'll get a better card which lets you do a better attack, or attack and reinforce, or move an attack, or something like that. And then all of the cards as well count for fighting, kind of like Kemet or a bunch of other games. You know, when you go into a fight, you put a card face down, and then there are some values at the top of how much attack power you have, how much defense you have, and then how much you kind of count. I can't remember what they called it, but there's a value for basically how much you win by. So you might, if you just have high attack, you might kill a bunch of the other side, a bunch of their people. But if there's still one of them left and you don't have any of the win power, then you might still lose, even if you wiped a lot of them out. So again, you're using cards for multiple things. They're kind of a currency as well. Like, if you use one of your special cards to do that in an attack, then obviously you're never going to use the ability for that because it gets discarded and it's gone. So you can always use your basic ones, but the numbers aren't as good. So it makes for this really interesting kind of cat and mouse that each of the 2 different people are trying to do their own thing. The Ironclad are trying to move around and build these mines and get more crystals and raise their armies, whereas the other guys are generally being a nuisance and robbing them, stealing their crystals, destroying their drill, so they have to start all over again because they need the money to build the foundries. You need quite a lot of crystals to do that. So the Woodwalkers are basically terrorists trying to sabotage them and steal their stuff. And the other guys are trying to stop them from summoning these totems. So they're interesting that they have an extra deck of cards which is different places on the map, so that's where they summon this thing. So there's a little bit of kind of espionage as well, where you can look at that deck sometimes. Some cards will let you do that to try and figure out where they're going to try and summon it and trying to defend that area, because they can move around quite fast, so they might just suddenly this thing appears and then you have to try and get over there and kill them before they can run off the board with it. But yeah, it was interesting. Possibly not as asymmetric as Root, because you're both essentially using cards to do stuff. You don't kind of have that mini game in the same way that you do with Root, but you are trying to do quite different things, and you each have to do it 3 times to win the game. And it takes I'd say it took a good hour, but that was with quite a lot of rules and figuring stuff out as we went along. You could definitely play it in under an hour if you knew what you were doing. But yeah, it's definitely one I'd be interested in playing again. It would be an interesting one to play kind of with the same person and kind of trying each side and learning how they work and what cards there are in the deck. I think it's definitely a game you could get much better at the more you know which cards are going to turn up or could turn up.
Is it repeated players rewards playing it a few times to get to?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the first time it was difficult to really know how it was going to work. Like, is this important? Your economy with the crystals and trying to move your drill around is quite difficult if you don't really know what cards the other player might have to stop you from doing that. Then it's more difficult. But yeah, it's definitely a game you could really get into. For sure. It'd be interesting to see if they bring out more versions of the same game.
Yeah.
I feel like there'll be more copies of like 2 different factions.
Yeah, there's this one that I'm quite interested in. There's another one as well. There's a Robin Hood one. A guest of Robin Hood.
Do you mean a guest for Robin Hood?
Which sounds a similar
that looks really cool.
But I think they're both games.
That's a coin game, right?
I think they're both games that I'd rather try first before I actually commit to buying them. I'd want to try them and play them and see what they're like before I actually jump in. But they both sound.
I'd probably play it with the person that you want to play it with as well.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I wanted to play it at Airecon. So it'd be really interesting to see how Gary got on with it. If he would enjoy something like that, or I don't know, if it'd be a bit too much card-based stuff, which he doesn't really play very much of. But yeah, it is useful for that sort of game to be able to try it out. I guess for Robin Hood would be really interesting. I'd be interested in playing that. Because that's a coin game that they've made very... It just looks more user-friendly than most coin games, I guess, because the whole war thing is kind of off-putting, but somehow it looks really pretty. And yeah, that one looks really interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, I like where they have sort of 2 different sides that do different things. That's quite interesting. And like say if you're playing it a couple of times on the same side, you change the sides and play it on the other side, and that'll change it up a little bit, won't it?
Yeah, it's quite a different game from the other point of view.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting. Okay, so that's some of the games we've been playing. We've been playing a lot more than that as well. Obviously, we've been playing some at the club. I also played. I think I played with Tom Wandering Towers, which I was absolutely terrible at.
Oh yeah,
you do very well at that one.
Worth having a memory, so at a certain time of night it becomes very difficult.
We played, what else did we play? Foundations of Rome with Lizzy. That was good fun.
That was good. Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that.
That was a giant box, wasn't it?
Yeah, the big box.
Yeah, it's epic.
I played a couple of games with Samuel as well. They were good. So yeah, I had a really good time. I met some new people. I had a chat to a few new people that I hadn't spoken to before. Met some people I hadn't seen for ages. So yeah, I had a fantastic time. So.
And of course, the first day we were there, went into the trade hall and sat at a demo table, which is just out by the door. So the first hour of the convention was someone coming in that we hadn't seen for ages. Saying, oh, hi, yeah, we should play a game. Yeah, and then someone else, and then someone else. Yeah. So yeah, that was really good. Seeing people that we see in loads of other conventions.
Yeah, it was that big that I did. I had spoken to a few people beforehand who were going, and I didn't even see them in the halls anywhere. It was that big. They must have been, we just didn't cross paths at that point. So there were a few people that said, "Oh, we're going to have to meet up and play a game together," but we just didn't get around to it. So,
yeah, there's never enough time at Airecon. That is true. I always want to go to more of the events, and there's always loads more games in the library that I didn't get to play, and it's just too much to do.
Yeah, too many games.
Yep, so I think probably I'll go to Airecon Northwest again, which is the one in Manchester. So it's a bit easier for me to get to. It's a bit smaller, a bit more.
Yeah, I think Harrogate's always going to be the main one, but the Manchester and Telford one.
That's the giant one, isn't it? But I think
it'd be interesting to see how much bigger they get if they try and.
They are branching out, aren't they?
Make more of them.
The other ones are getting bigger and bigger, and they're
yeah, I mean, you think there'd be a lot of possibility for expansion in Manchester, because quite bit bigger than Harrogate. I think so.
Yeah, well, it's coming up in August, I think. So yeah, I might pop over to that one for maybe a weekend or something. Again, I'll probably have to commute there, but it like I say, it's not as difficult to get to as Harrogate from our side. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Really come back to Harrogate next year?
Yeah, possibly. I think I've definitely learned a lot about getting there and how much time I want to spend and have available and things like that. There are things I do differently, perhaps. Definitely try and make it for next time. Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. So Tom, thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Lizzie, thank you for coming on. Pleasure talking to you as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We've been the Sheffield Board Gamers. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.